If that's what he brings in the State of the Union, then I think it's going to be a very, very difficult time to move forward.
Representative Tom Price of Georgia joins us to discuss the President's State of the Union address, a little bit about what's going on in Congress, and the passage of his recent bill. Sir, last week the House passed your bill to require a Plan Act. What does this do?
This was the second stage in a strategy that the House Republicans are putting forward on the whole fiscal issues, whether it's the budget or the debt ceiling or the continuing resolution or the sequester. This was the second stage. First was no budget, no pay, which 85% of the American people believe that unless the Senate and the House pass a budget, then we ought not get paid. We passed that 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then last week was the Require a Plan Act. This, again, is a common sense piece of legislation. It simply says to the President, when you bring your budget to Congress, just let us know when it balances.
Right.
And that's important because for the past 4 years, the President has put in place, offered budgets that never, ever, ever get to balance over a 75-year period of time. Never does spending equal revenue coming in. And that's destructive to our society.
What steps would you like to see the White House take?
There are all sorts of things, but what we've got to recognize is that the biggest portion of our budget is 3 things: Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. All 3 of those, they comprise about 2/3 of our budget with the interest payments. The current course, the current law, the current proposal that is on that is current law that the President apparently supports, is that all 3 of those programs lose money. They go bankrupt within a period of time, 10 years, 20 years period of time. We don't believe that that's fair. We don't believe that that's caring to the individuals that are the recipients and have been promised those benefits. We believe that it's important to save and strengthen and secure Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security.
How do you think that conservatives and Republican leaders were successfully able to push a time frame of 10 years to balance the budget?
Well, a couple things. One is that with the change in what's called the baseline, which is the yardstick that we measure a budget by, it's actually become a little easier because of policies that have been adopted. Some of them are the discretionary reductions in spending that we've instituted, so that the difference between the amount that we spend and the amount of money coming in has actually gotten a little smaller in the projection in the 10-year window that the Congressional Budget Office talks about. So that's one thing. The second is, we're at a point in our nation's history where unless we demonstrate that we are truly serious about solving the economic challenges, then the government, the nation that will pass on to future generations, those individuals, you will not see the kind of opportunity and the kind of dreams to be realized that every single other generation of Americans has seen. I think that's reckless and irresponsible. That's why we believe that it's important to get this fiscal house in order as rapidly as possible.
The President is about to address Congress with the State of the Union address. It's going to be happening tonight.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for that?
I thought the President, with his re-election, obviously I didn't support that, but with his re-election, he's got a time to press the reset button. Not with Russia, but with House Republicans, with members of Congress who are valiantly trying to solve our nation's challenges. And he could press the reset button, but in his inaugural address, he actually doubled down. He said, no, my programs haven't worked, my policies haven't worked, but let's try more of them. If that's what he brings in the State of the Union, then I think it's going to be a very, very difficult time to move forward. I'm hopeful, however, that we can identify those individuals on the other side of the aisle who actually understand and appreciate that we've got to fundamentally change the direction we're going in order to save this country.
In a previous life, you were a doctor
Yeah.
in Georgia, and you really put an emphasis on empowering your patients. How can the President really put his priority on empowering the people?
What it requires is a recognition that the path that we're on, the policies of this administration have been destructive to patients and families and doctors making medical decisions. That's what I call patient-centered health care. We ought to be focusing on the patient, not on government. If we focus on the patient, we actually get to the right answer. And sadly, the policies of this administration over the past 4 years have moved health care, something that I'm intimately familiar with because I spent 20 years taking care of patients. But this administration has moved health care in a direction of being more government-centric as opposed to patient-centric.
Now, on the lighter side of things, I know you're a big baseball fan,
Yeah.
specifically an Atlanta Braves fan. What are your thoughts on the new additions they have to their outfield?
I'm really excited. Pitchers and catchers report today. This is New Year's Day for
Sure.
those of us who are big baseball fans as the new season begins. And the new outfield with Hayward and the Upton brothers, I think is going to be really exciting. I'm predicting first place for the Braves, but I do that every year. So.